I'm just getting my notes up now. Uh-oh.
Hello. We are live again. Thank you all for joining us on Facebook Live today, I think. I don't know. I've been on so many platforms. We are talking about depression and anxiety in relation to the military personnel, what they go through, what they experience. And then when they're doing this, how this affects like the wives, the spouses, the girlfriends, the family members, the children. It's just a never-ending pot of domino effects when this happens. So I am Vanessa Donaldson. I am a military spouse transitional coach. I'm working in that space with spouses that are transitioning a lot from the military to the civilian side. But also, catching them maybe a little closer to active duty, a little longer in that season so that we can really prepare them and set them up to thrive in their retirement. And I've got with me today Audrey, who is a friend from our church. We're both at the same church in Florida. And we met through, how do we meet? Through the silent prayer, which is funny. We're both very talkative, but we met at a women's silent prayer that meets weekly. And we just connected. And then I found out that she has worked with military, with PTSD. She's got like psychology background. She's CTRS trained, certified. Long title, she'll tell you. And then also speaker evangelist. So she is going to share with us today some things because she's done this for many years. And we want to bring you some nuggets and give you natural ways, natural, tools to use to deal with depression and anxiety versus the medication. We all know when we, base in the military, all those bases, all the medical hospitals, like the first thing they do is give you the brown bag of pills to take home. So we want to look for alternatives for that. And we're both coming from a Christian background. So we do disclaimer. We talk about God. We talk about Bible verses. That's what you get here. If it's not your jam, I guess you can leave. And if you're curious, stick around. We hope you do and just gain one nugget out of it, no matter what faith you are. And so Audrey, tell us a little more. Tell us what CTRS stands for, and we'll dive right in.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. I'm so thankful to be asked to come on your program. And this is definitely a topic that I find very near and dear to me because I did work with people with post-traumatic stress disorder for many years, that from even families and for veterans that were overwhelmed and stressed and had anxiety and flashbacks from being in the war and in Afghanistan and Iraq, and even longtime vets from Vietnam. So, I've seen so many patients and people that have gone through such hard times and trials and tribulations. And I have so many steps from working with them, but I would like to give three, like the most positive steps that have help these patients to overcome stress and anxiety without using medication or actually weaning off the medication. If I can share the three top steps that actually work.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. And tell us again, what does CTRS legally stand for?
Yes, it's a certified therapeutic recreational specialist. I worked with patients that were in a 21-day program for suicidal ideations and strong anxiety and depression because of being in the military, and even their spouses, because they were working with their spouses as well to overcome the stress. I did programs like coping skills, stress management, VCR training, guided imagery, progressive relaxation. But the most effective that I used was affirmations using biblical scriptures on anxiety and how to decrease anxiety. So if I could share that would be the three steps. I wanted to start with that one, if that's okay, Vanessa.
Absolutely. Let's go into it.
Okay. So the first step that I encourage people to do, and these were people, the veterans, that felt unworthy because they were the only survivor out of all their soldiers and people on their rank. So they were a lot of them were captains or sergeants that lost all their soldiers, and they felt guilt. So I had to do a lot of retraining of the brain and survivor's guilt groups to help them to feel hopeful, and that it was worth them living, even though all the tragedy of the people that actually died, and they were in despair. And I gave them affirmations from the Bible that helped them to feel, wow, I'm here alive. God kept me here for a purpose. And some of the scriptures that that were used from the Lord, because it was from the Bible, and I believe the Bible in 2 Timothy says that every word is God-breathed and inspired by God for training, equipping, and teaching us the ways to go. So the first one I always use, and I wrote this down, let me look for it. It says in Matthew 6:34, and this is what I would tell the patients to write down and speak over their life. Therefore, I'll be anxious. Well, first of all, be anxious for nothing, but in all things with prayer, supplication, thanksgiving, make your request known to God, and the peace of God that surpasses all understanding will guard our hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. And therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Sufficient is each day for its own trouble. I'm sorry, that was Matthew 6:34, and that was also in Philippians 4:16. And those two scriptures I memorized. I would speak them out and have them speak it out, because instead of being anxious, to be thankful and to declare and decree how positive things and why God kept them alive and what they can do with their life, and to be thankful and say there's a reason why you're still here and why God kept you, and he's still using you, so you're still alive for a reason. And not to worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow will worry about itself. Sufficient is each day for its own trouble. So God wants us to focus on the here and now. And one thing I noticed when I was working with these patients is a lot of them had a lot of regret of the past and fear of the future. So to stay in the here and now, and to know that God's with you today, and not to worry about what's going to happen tomorrow, and not to keep your mind focused on the past and all the tragedies that happen. But, God has you for the here and now to just be at peace, and to have peace in the eye of the storm, and to know that you are an overcomer. So, that's so important. Just a few more scriptures before I get to the second point, because if that's okay.
Oh, I know. I love it.
I could talk a lot, and I know that's why me and Vanessa clicked.
But you talk scripture. You talk like you're bringing the word to life. So we love it. Keep going.
Yeah, and his word does come to life when you accept him in your heart. Now in Romans 8:38, it says, I am convinced that nothing can separate us from the love of God, neither death nor life, nor angels nor demons, neither fears for today or our worries about tomorrow. Not even the powers of hell can separate from God's love, because God's love is so strong that there is no fear. So even fear of death, or fear of being the only one that survived, or fear of what's going to happen if you're called back into the military, it's that God's love is going to keep you, and his peace is going to give you his shalom, his peace, his love, and nothing can separate you from that. And that brings supernatural peace in the eye of the storm. And in 1 Corinthians 7:32, it says, I want you to be free from all anxieties. Jesus says that he doesn't want us to live in fear and anxiety and dread, but he wants us to be free and to set us free. He says, whom the Son sets free is free indeed. So it's by his love and his overwhelming presence that we are free from all pain, all strife, all anxiety, fear of the unknown. Because working with people with post-traumatic stress disorder, and that were in the military, you get a lot of flashbacks. You get some people suffer from flashbacks and from nightmares, and from just remembering all the the harm that was done, and the killings. Some people went through that, and the spouses especially have to live with the person that went through this. And a lot, it just as hard or more hard for the spouse, because they have to have that supernatural compassion, which could be stressful.
I would just add, I just got off the call with a client, and we're like literally just talking about this, and her spouse is deployed. She was supposed to move. She didn't move for whatever reason. So she's still stuck in another spot. And now he's deployed. It was supposed to be like a 2-month thing. Now it's turned into 6 months. And, you ask the question, like, when's he coming back? Oh, we don't have a return date. Like, there's so much fear of the unknown, and all that stress that she's carrying now herself, which is why she's, working with me to just get rid of that anxiety, depression, fear, like you're talking about. And she's a Christian. So the first step, I was like, are you with your local church? No, not yet. And So now she's like on fire. She's going to go. She has a friend that goes to a church down the road. She's going to go join the friend. And I know this is going to shift. I said, it's building your spiritual muscle. She's going to go build that spiritual muscle now. We can have positive intelligence, thinking muscles, like you mentioned, affirmation, but that spiritual muscle needs attention too, and you can go online maybe and look at a sermon, but it's different when you're the parts of the body together, worshiping together in a communal space together. So it's just cool that you mentioned the spouses, and I just got off the call with the spouse, and she's literally working on just this, putting more of God into her life and feeding that void so that she doesn't have to be as medicated as much and have all these anxiety issues on the side, worrying about when her spouse is coming back, all that fear of the unknown.
Yes, and I'm so glad that we have people like Vanessa here. So Vanessa is here for you if you are a spouse, to help you through that, overcoming. And she works one-on-one with you, and she has that real heart for people like that. She's wonderful. So it's so good to have people around of support like that. There's even support groups, because I know when I was working in the hospital with families, especially spouses, we had a support group, and that's so important. Even a one-on-one support group is just as good, because you have that person you can turn to.
And group. We do a lot of group. I do group empowerment and mentoring, because military spouses actually work well in groups together. We bounce things off each other. We know we're not alone that way. Like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling the same thing. So group works really good for spouses, for military spouses.
Yes. And I was working actually with the patients in the military, like they would give and they were bouncing off each other. And so for the actual people that are going through it, or just came out of war or came out, in transition, it's good to have that too. But you can't forget the spouses, because the spouses are dealing with it just as much as, Vanessa is also a spouse of a retired military
Marine. Marine, that's a whole other breed.
Marine, yes, Marine. Sorry.
So anyway, back to your scripture.
Yes. I'm going to give one more, and I wanted to get to one of your points that you said about being on medication and ways to reduce that as well, if you're able to. So this is the last scripture. I have a lot, but I do have two other points I want to get to. In Isaiah 35:4, it says, "Say to those that have an anxious heart." This is what Jesus says. Even though it's the Old Testament, he was still yesterday, today, and tomorrow. He's all at one, and he was there then and forever. He says, "Say to those with an anxious heart, be strong, fear not. Behold, your God will come with vengeance and with recompense of God. He will come and save you." God will save you from all the terrors at night and the fire at day, and he's going to protect you and strengthen you. He doesn't want us to fear. He wants us to stay humble, and for people that are going through hard times, to stay humble and to fear not. So God is a God of vengeance, and he comes against anyone that will come against you who's feeling stress and anxiety. When you're at peace with the Lord, he will even make your enemies at peace with you. So God is just a God of love, and he wants to bring fairness and justice to people that are going through that. So he doesn't want anybody to feel anxiety or fear or anything that's going to bring them down.
It's not of God either, right? God did not create that fear and anxiety in us. That's just ways of the world and Satan working. That is not from God, the fear and anxiety. That's from Satan. That doesn't come from God at all.
Because Jesus actually said, and this is the last I'm going to say about that, is he said, which of you being anxious can add a single hour or a span of his life? And that's in Matthew 6:27. He says, if you're anxious, how much are you going to add to your life? Nothing. So you're not even adding, you're decreasing an hour of your life. He wants us to stay in the joy of the Lord, which is our strength. And it decreases anxiety and fear. So he wants us to live in peace and serenity. And God is a God of peace. He's not a God of strife and anxiety. But don't be upset if you are living in stress and anxiety, because there's ways out. And that's why I'm giving you encouragement. This is not to make you feel discouraged. Jesus wants you to be free from anxiety and fear. And he knows we get there, all of us. So this is just a few tips to get free from it. And he wants you to stay in his word and to declare the scriptures out loud. Now, to get to the second point, this is, I've seen many of the patients, including myself, who was on anxiety medication. So I'm saying this from, I was on Prozac. It was for depressed mood and anxiety. And a lot of it was working with these people because it was hard, but God got me off of that.
Praise God.
And yeah, so I know that he can do this. So this is the thing. The second tip that I would also encourage people is guided imagery. Now, I was working with some of the residents or patients, young people, very strong. They had muscles. They were very physically fit from the military, and they were on Ativan and, all the medications to help them calm down, which is okay for a season. And I'm not telling you to get off of it, if you have spouses that are on it or if you're on it. But there's a very good way through guided imagery is my second way, the second most positive way that I saw people overcome medication. Okay, I'll give you an example. I had this one patient that he had his whole team, all his soldiers were killed at war, and he was the only survivor. So he had strong survivor's guilt. He wanted to die because he didn't feel worthy to be alive. Well, do you know that I encouraged him? He was starting to do the scriptures and he was feeling more peaceful. And he said, Audrey, he said, I really want to get off this medication. Can you give me another tip as well? Because he was starting to get better from just speaking the scriptures and believing them by faith. But I did guided imagery with him. So guided imagery is when you go through like a script, or you imagine yourself in a certain, like on a beach or, in a forest, and you just relaxed and you're there and, you're tranquil, your mind goes there. Well, he loved motorcycles, this guy. So his way of getting rid of anxiety was being on a motorcycle. But we were in an inpatient treatment facility, so he couldn't go and ride the motorcycle. Mm-hmm. So the guided imagery really helped him. So I had him pretend, close your eyes. You're now on this motorcycle. Now and I would go through the steps of where he would actually go. I knew the towns he was going through. This was in New Jersey. And he would, travel here and there, and where he would pass. Do you know his panic attacks? Because he would go through panic attacks. It would get him from a 10 of anxiety down to like a 2. And he said it was the one thing besides the scriptures that really helped him was guided imagery. And so many people that I worked with, this helped them. Now, there were people that died at war, and they were even Marines or Air Force, and they couldn't have guided imagery on the ocean because that would trigger them to feel stress and anxiety, because they would think of dying on the water was a trigger. But a lot of the Marines that I work with, like I would know what would help them personally reduce stress. So we would go to a place that they felt comfortable, like the forest. For one woman, just laying on her living room floor and just relaxing, that was her peace.
So it's different for everybody. It's different for you. Find what your place of peace is. Like for my husband, it's being on a boat, fishing, ocean therapy. That's how we ran a boating ministry for years. So whatever that why is for you, that's what you want to tap into with those patients, I guess, or for anybody listening. Like that's the imagery that you're going to be focusing around. So that's awesome.
Yes. And again, you have to be careful if you're, you had an issue with a certain place. One time, one of the people put on Forrest Gump, and you wouldn't think that's a bad movie, but there was a lot of shooting. Some of the patients, they would start having flashbacks and start shaking because of it. So just knowing what you're able to do, knowing your triggers and staying away from them. And, just being in that place of peace, having somebody do guided imagery with you or having it on a tape. So that's a second really good effect of overcoming stress and anxiety is through guided imagery. Mm-hmm. The third one I would like to share, because I have so many working for so many years with people, but
I know we could talk for hours, but we said we're going to do this in 30-minute increments, 25 to 30 minutes. We got a bite size. So we've got scripture, we've got guided imagery, and now we're going on to number 3. What's our third nugget?
Yes, this is the third one. I have 10, but I'm going to give 3 today. So the third one is called progressive relaxation. Has anybody heard of progressive relaxation? Raise your hand.
Put it in the chat.
But
sounds good. I like the relaxation, and progressive is like more of, but gosh, even in my coaching realm, maybe I do it, but I call it something else. So tell us what that means.
Yeah. Well, progressive relaxation is a little bit different than a lot of people have done before. And it's been proven I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. I won't go through all the steps right now, but it's been proven for people to get off medication, and for some people, it's their number one. I had the nurse practitioner working with us who taught me how to do it, and she used to be on medication. She said this is the one thing that helped her. And then when I started doing it with the groups, they loved it. I did it 3 times a week. Now, what it is it's simple, but you have to keep to it to see the changes. Within 3 or 4 weeks, you'll literally see a major reduction in anxiety. So, and I did this also when I worked in a nursing home for 8 years with the elderly afterwards, people that were in Vietnam War and, the World War I and II. And it helped them so much with their flashbacks. You'd be surprised. And it also just helps with people with everyday stress. If you're a spouse that you're stressed out, this is going to help you. It totally helped me for a long time. That with my prayer. And for me, number one is the prayer and declaring the scriptures. But this helped me too. So you can't cancel out one. You can cancel out some, but not these. These are the 3 top. Okay, so progressive relaxation is you're going to, let's say I'm going to start with arms all the way out. Okay, all the way out. You're going to, for let's say 15 seconds. So you're going to count, really like stretching it out as much as you can go. So it's not going to be like this. I don't know if you can see my arms, but it's all the way out. So you're going to hold it for 15 seconds, 15, 14. I won't do it all on the of this broadcast. It'll take all day. But anyway, for 15 seconds. And then you bring it in. And then you release it again, 15 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And then you bring it in. You do that 3 times, each body part. So next, let's say you're going to bring your legs out and hold it out really tight out in front of you. And, flex your feet. And you're really like stretching your muscles. Like it's stress and then release. Tense up as much as possible and then release each body part. So then it's your legs. Then it's your hands together, like squeezing. It looks weird, but it really works. Okay.
It's prayer. You can say a prayer at the same time.
You do the prayer. So you're doing 2 in 1, right?
It's called habit stacking. Oh my gosh, that's so familiar to what I've done in coaching with positive intelligence, because there's actually, they call it the fitness muscle, the mental muscle. And I know we talked about the spiritual muscle, kind of point number 1, but it's about tensing and relaxing. It literally is a technique that we do. And I share it with, the vets that have come to me, female military veterans as well, because something about, it's called tense release. And there was like an app that goes with it. So you could go on your phone anytime you're triggered during the day, morning, noon, or night, whenever, and literally press it. And there were 2-minute activities, like 5 minutes, and then 15 minutes. So like a small, medium, large, depending how much time you had. But they were doing a lot of creative visualization as well, or also what's it called? Laser focusing, like hyper focusing on the ocean waves or something in nature. But that tensing thing. So it's interesting how it's similar to what you're doing, but you're calling it progressive relaxation. But there's something that when the body tenses up completely and then you go into that relaxation, it's actually practicing a way to deal with triggers. That's awesome.
Yeah, I never heard of the second one you said, but that might have been new. I learned this so many years ago, but it still works today.
Positive intelligence, PQ.
And this, if you close your eyes like really tight, like this is one of them. Like you can even do 10 seconds and then open up, and then you do it again. And I always say squeeze, 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 and then release. And you do it for 10 seconds each.
So the arms, the legs, the hands, the eyes,
and then the boutonniere muscles with it, which is your face. This is gonna look really weird, but. And then release. I know it looks so. Everybody like laughed at me, but we would all do it together.
You don't want that to become the cover shot. It'll be like, it goes out like, oh wait, we look great right there. That's the one we're going to post everywhere.
I'm telling you, I have other things that are even funnier, but this is funny. And you do both boutonniere muscles, and then your fingers, the dexterity of the fingers, you hold them out.
How about the feet alone too? Can you like
feet? Oh yes, feet numbing is big. So yes, you want to do your feet, and I could always I used to print out sheets for people to do on their own, because it is each body part, but it's literally just tense for 10 seconds or 15 seconds, release, and then you do that 2 or 3 times. And after, I'm telling you, I would say 3 weeks, you will people will say, oh, well, you're so much more peaceful. It literally works. People have seen the change. So it does work, and it's powerful. So those are the 3 top strategies I would say, to start for decreasing stress and anxiety with people with post-traumatic stress disorder, military wives and husbands and family, and
Natural
people who
way.
deal with it. Yes, veterans.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much. We have to do more of this because we're just like scratching the surface of this.
Yeah.
But that's why you go into coaching. You can go into this for months and years and really dive deeper. So I was going to add some statistics too, actually, that I had pulled up on depression and anxiety. If you don't, can we do?
Oh yeah, please. I want to hear it myself.
So yeah, according to the 2018 report from the Department of Defense, approximately 14% of active duty U.S. military personnel screened positive for depression or anxiety. Now, this is just active duty. There's a lot more retired. There's the spouses they're not counting. So that's the disclaimer. We're just talking active duty, but at least 14%. I'm sure it's higher. Among U.S. Army soldiers, the rate of depression is estimated around 20%. The rate of anxiety is about 15%. And then the rate of depression and anxiety are higher among female service members than male service members. So that's another thing. There's the whole female component too. And apparently they're grading even higher on the stresses of, joining the military and being in this high pressure role. And then you add in the pandemic. That's been identified as a factor as well. It's increased the stress and mental health challenges. It's been faced by everybody, the whole world, not only just the military personnel, but that will contribute also to higher rates. So again, this is more just statistics of the active duty. So there's so much more out there that people aren't taking surveys on. And, the couple and the family that's just sitting at home and they're not on a survey sheet, but they're feeling it. They're walking through it every day and they're living in this, silo or misery of just cycling the same thing with medication and then fighting and like not making any progress. So if you are in that loop and you want to get out of that loop, reach out to us. Like there's other ways. And we hope that we brought you some value and some hope today for, other ways to deal with the stresses of life. We want everybody to thrive and to have joy in all circumstances. I'm sure you can feel Audrey's energy. She's like, in person, it's even more on fire. She's just, what was I say? A Bible study said she's just oozing with joy for the Lord. I love that. So I'll make a note too. One tip from Vanessa's coaching, like surround yourself with positive people. Like get those negative Nellies out of the way. Like you're the sum of 5, the 5 closest people you spend all your time with. Do you want that to be in like a negative space, or do you want that to be with positive energy, positive people that are encouraging, empowering you, that kind of thing? So yeah, we're wrapping it up here. Was there anything else, or we can just have, how do people reach you, Audrey? If people ever want, I guess we're kind of be on a Facebook thing here, right? So it should be easy.
Yeah, you know what? Come to Audrey Staton, my name is here, Staton. Or I also have a website I'm going to give you, but on Facebook, it's Audrey Staton from Port Charlotte, Florida. So Audrey Staton from Port Charlotte, Florida on Facebook. Or you can go to my website and please email me or request or anything. AB, which is AB, like it was Audrey Brown, but it's that was my maiden name. So it's AB, like AB, Ministries, Ministry, MINISTRY, abministry.com.
Okay, singular ministry, abministry.com. You're always with another thing up the sleeve. I didn't hear about that. I love that. And it's kind of like Audrey and also the Alpha. Now we just need the O, the Alpha Omega. AB Ministry. I like that. And for myself, Vanessa Donaldson, I am the Reset Coach. I'm helping you with your life, I guess, in and beyond the military. I don't want to exclude people who are in. We want to help you and get you these tools like newlyweds in the military. Like if you're still dating your high school boyfriend and you're thinking about joining the military, like the earlier you can get these tools and tips, gosh, I could have saved a few arguments and fights and circling around certain loopholes. So we want to make it easier for you based on our mistakes and where we've been. So you can reach me at resetwithvanessa.com. That's my website. And if you are in transition and you're working on your VA disability claim, I'm also available to do audits. I am working with a third-party contractor to make sure that our vets get compensated what they deserve. And I know that's not usually at the top of the list, doing all that paperwork fill out. So we're there to hold your hand, and we give free consultations to vets are retiring. So my link is in there as well, but it's on my website, resetwithvanessa.com/disability-rating-audit. So either way, go to the website. You can contact us several ways. And thank you again, Audrey, for these 3 nuggets. I feel like it's like a cliffhanger now. We're on a Netflix series, and you said 10, and there's probably more than that, but we got to have you back. We got to keep doing this and getting the message out and bringing hope to our military community. So thank you so much for carving time out of your day to be with us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Vanessa, for having me. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.